One of the biggest challenges a caregiver will encounter is what is known as compassion fatigue. Dr. Charles Figley of Tulane University said compassion fatigue is a state experienced by those who are helping other people who are in distress. It is an extreme state of tension and preoccupation with the suffering of those being helped to the degree that it can create a secondary traumatic stress for the helper. It is characterized by deep physical and emotional exhaustion and a pronounced change in the caregiver's ability to feel empathy for the ones they are caring for. And over time, if not dealt with, the caregiver could begin to notice an increased attitude of cynicism when they go to work. They may recognize a loss of the enjoyment they once had as they would go to their client's home, and eventually this can transform into depression or other stress-related illnesses. The saddest part about struggling with compassion fatigue is that it attacks the very core of what brought us into this work, our empathy and compassion for others. What happens is we go all out in our care for others, but neglect in our care of ourselves. Then, when we've given all that we've got and have nothing more to give, we just go numb. And when we go numb, instead of experiencing the fulfillment that caregiving provides, we instead just go through the motions. Let me illustrate the drain of compassion fatigue through a situation that happened to me the other week. I was driving home from one of the offices I was visiting that day when all of a sudden my car started to spit and sputter as it eventually stalled alongside of the highway. I immediately looked at the gas gauge because I just knew I had enough gas in the tank to get home. I got out of the car and I opened the hood to search the engine for any problems that I could see, but everything seemed to be in working order. I eventually called my wife and asked her to bring the gas can just in case. Well, sure enough, when I put the gasoline into the tank and turned the ignition switch on, guess what happened? That's right, the car started. And when I got home, I researched the issue. I discovered there was a gas gauge malfunction recall on my specific model car. Apparently, people with the same car I owned all across this country were running out of gasoline alongside the road, just like what happened to me, all because their gas gauge was not giving them the right information. My point in telling you this story is that caregiving can be a lot like a car and gas tank. Sure, you can keep turning the key in the ignition, but the car is not going to start. And you are only going to drain the battery in your vain attempt. You can go day in and day out serving your clients, continuing to give all of yourself till you have nothing else to give. But if you don't take the time to refuel your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual gas tanks, you will eventually run out of gas. The bottom line is you can't give what you don't have yourself. In order for a caregiver to have a fulfilling career in the workplace and avoid the pitfalls of compassion fatigue, they will need to monitor 3 important areas of their life. First of all, you need to have a healthy fuel gauge that is working. In other words, have healthy boundaries established and know your limits for when you are feeling fatigue. Second, make sure you have healthy inputs that refuel you as a person. This means be proactive in taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And last of all, find healthy outlets. Find other caregivers or home instead staff that you can connect with and discuss some of your caregiving challenges. As your chaplain, I would love to help you in any way that I can. Here are some questions that you can discuss with your fellow caregivers. Number 1, do you think it's possible as a caregiver to care too much? Explain your answer. Number 2, have you experienced compassion fatigue? How do you know? And number 3, what are some everyday life symptoms you have experienced from compassion fatigue in your health, relationships, emotional, or physical health? Caregiving is a very rewarding career, but we know that we can be very draining as well. Caregivers, please remember your limitations. You can't give what you don't have. For the sake of your mental and physical health, your family and your client, and fulfilling career, take the time to monitor your inner gas tank and keep it full. Please know that when you take the time to take better care of yourself, you are in fact taking better care of your clients.